Okay, let's take a few minutes to talk about blood clotting. If there's an injury to a blood vessel and blood cells begin to leak out of the vessel, then we need to stop that leak before we can restore blood volume, maintain blood volume homeostasis. There are 4 phases according to this figure by OpenStax that we can look into. So those stages are injury, vascular spasm is the second, platelet plug formation, and coagulation. Let's look at those in order. When we see the injury, we kind of know what that is. I described it. In the vascular spasm, the endothelial cells release factors that cause smooth muscle contraction. That smooth muscle contraction reduces the diameter of the vessel, increases resistance, and decreases flow. Platelets then adhere to the site of injury. So platelets are those cell fragments from megakaryocytes. They form a plug and they're going to release important chemicals for coagulation. In the coagulation phase, fibrin is a protein. It forms this mesh that holds the platelets in place. So normally fibrinogen, I'm going to just kind of highlight where we are here. So fibrinogen is present in the plasma. It's a protein, but it's dissolved. Fibrin is not dissolved and it forms these long ropes. The conversion of fibrinogen to fibrin is catalyzed by an enzyme called thrombin. I'm just kind of making a mark off by the side there. So whatever would turn on thrombin would promote coagulation. And what turns on thrombin are other enzymes. There's an enzyme cascade. So we're going to have factors released from cells of the damaged wall and cells outside of the damaged wall. And those factors they're mostly proteases, meaning they chop up proteins. And what happens is there's a protein that's inactive, and it's inactive because a piece of the protein stops up the active site. The enzyme can't bind its substrate because the active site isn't available. Once that regulatory region is chopped off, the enzyme is active and it will activate other enzymes. So in 2 different pathways, we have a cascade of one enzyme activating the next until you finally get to thrombin. The reason blood clotting is positive feedback is there are a few places where an enzyme turns on other enzymes that activate itself. For example, thrombin converts fibrinogen to fibrin, but thrombin also turns on factor 8. So if I'm going up here, thrombin is going to turn on factor 8, which then turns on through that cascade thrombin. So this is a positive feedback loop that's going to cause very fast formation of this fibrin mesh that the platelets are adhered to. That also means if we want this process to stop and not have blood clots everywhere, then we need to have factors that turn off these enzymes. And there are anti-clotting factors that are in our plasma. They circulate everywhere and turn off clotting factors as soon as they're far enough away from this positive feedback loop. One of those is heparin, and you might be familiar with heparin from a heparinized tube that if you have blood drawn, you put it into a heparinized tube and that would prevent blood clotting. So an important note in blood clotting is that vitamin K is an essential component of a lot of these enzymes, including thrombin. So if we don't have enough vitamin K, we can't synthesize a sufficient number of clotting enzymes, and blood clotting would be impaired. That's also how the drug warfarin or Coumadin works. It inhibits formation of an active vitamin K, Without that vitamin K, clotting is repressed, and we would have an anti-clotting agent. Now, a patient on Coumadin would then be at risk for too much bleeding should they have damage. What should we know about this process for our class? The phases: the injury, spasm, platelet plug formation, and coagulation phase. We should know that the coagulation phase is a positive feedback loop and promotes rapid formation of a fibrin mesh. That the coagulation process needs to be cut off by anti-clotting factors that are present in the blood always. And the reason we need that, so the reason is to prevent abnormal clotting. Just if blood is exposed to a small nick in the blood wall that doesn't promote a lot of bleeding. And that might happen in something like atrial fibrillation, where blood kind of swirls and is in contact with the vessel wall too long. And we should know that blood clotting is a positive feedback loop. I may have already said that. And I think that's it.